Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday morning radio extravaganza, your Saturday morning vibe. I am James Golden, both Snerdley. Good to have you here. If you would like to be on the program today, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. 800-848-9222. Tell you what's coming up. A little bit later in the program, our very own Princess Diana will be here. If you have kids, if you're planning on having children, newbies, you really want to listen to the segment today because I have asked, and she already had it planned even before I asked, I've asked Princess Diana to please discuss what's going on with these Trump baby deals. No, he's not out making babies. He's already done that. No, but he's got this plan that will allow new parents for their children to have their children have an account set up with money stashed in it that could apparently grow and create a new generation of wealth. I have not delved into it as deeply as I wanted to. I had other things pressing this week. But Princess Diana is going to explain all that to us and more. Of course, the weekly analysis that she has. We're expecting to hear from Lizzie. I can't wait to see what Lizzie's got in mind this morning. And, of course, America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Shrouck. We're expecting her to join us. And your telephone calls. So many things are happening in the world. Yesterday, was the big national protest. Huge. Yeah, really huge. We have a report about it from folks. When you hear me say Minneapolis, it's because that's what Gavin Newsom calls it. So I know it's pronounced Minneapolis, but he calls it Minneapolis. So I like that, so I'm using it. Apparently, there was a big protest out in Minneapolis, according to CNN, and in New York City. Thousands in New York City protest against ICE on National Shutdown Day. Thousands of people gathered at Foley Square in Manhattan to protest immigration crackdown. I read that. I'm like, oh my gosh, must be so huge. 7,000 people showed up. Now, 7,000 people, you say, wow, that's a hell of, excuse me. More people to show up in New York City to see a basketball team that never makes it into the championship than do to come to this protest. Look at it like that. On any random day that they're playing basketball, more people than that will show up in Madison Square Garden to see a team that they know is not going to go into the champions than they will come outside and protest ICE. You got 8 million people, this city, 8 million, city never sleep. All these millions and millions of people in New York, and the best they can do is 7,000 liberals show up somewhere to protest because they don't want to work and they want to hang out with other liberals that don't want to work. They would rather protest ICE, which is their right. Nothing wrong with protesting as long as you keep it. Now, and as long as you keep it civil, in L.A. they didn't. They had another riot. The LA people rioting, destroying, throwing rocks, throwing bottles. There is a big article today. Is it in the New York Times, I believe? It must be an opinion piece. I have it in here somewhere. I'm looking for it as we speak. As I speak. Oh, I just passed a good story. Ken Burns wants them to restore New Hampshire to being first in the nation for the primaries. Here is the story. It is the New York Times. Politicians are calling the protest in Minnesota an insurgency. The term used to describe war poses dangers when applied to American political unrest. So, New York Times, big story about how we shouldn't be using that word insurgency. It's why it could be dangerous. And then they point. On Wednesday, Tucker Carlson, the right-wing commentator, struck a similar tone. What you're watching are the beginning of a color revolution, a kind of insurrection against federal authority. They point to others, Representative Eli Crane. They want to fundamentally make and tear down the institutions and the culture of our country, he's saying. And increasingly, Republicans have described these things that are going on as an insurgency that has them upset. What have they been doing on the left? And I always love this when the New York Times or any other mainstream, a danger experts, it's a danger experts want. Who are these experts? But I love this. They're all upset because Republicans and people on the right and normal Americans are correctly identifying the insurgency as an insurgency. Oh, you shouldn't use that word. Meanwhile, you got this, we have this DA this Soros DA in Philadelphia who's still out, tripling down on this idea that ICE people are Nazis. They've been calling ICE people Nazis. They've been calling Trump every name in the book, not just this term, but last term, demanding in some cases that he die. Some of the more unhinged and celebrating people. These people have the audacity to be upset with the word insurgency when they are committing an insurgency. They are ignoring federal law. You heard Timmy Walsh this week. Timmy Walsh out there in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, talked about the new Fort Sumter. Right out of the Civil War playbook. And they're upset. Now, there are other things in the news. We can talk about all of that. And I can get into more detail with all that, but there are other things in the news. What's up, Matt? Oh, thank you. Matt was letting me know what he's going to do first with the music. He just wanted me to know I wouldn't be surprised. Because I would have been surprised if he hadn't told me. Anyway, there are other things in the news worth dealing with. One of them, ladies and gentlemen, I have to be careful how I say this because let me just get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really bad if you are really, really bad if you are of a certain mindset. It's worse than the insurgency. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations is in danger of closing. It's true. Now, stop. Don't, if you're shaking because of that now, I understand. Please be seated. If you were standing and you heard the news and immediately you started convulsing, no, not with laughter, convulsing because of fright. Please just sit down, take a few deep breaths. It is true. And you're not going to like those of you, some of you are not going to like the reason why. The United Nations is in danger of closing. They are desperately running out of money quickly, and they say they may have to shut down the UN headquarters in New York in July if things don't improve. We're only talking a few months away. In July, the United Nations may have to shutter. the facility that they have in New York because they are in serious danger of financial collapse. It's because of unpaid dues. The United Nations said yesterday it was facing imminent, this is serious, imminent financial collapse. That it would run out of money in July if countries, namely the United States, did not pay their annual dues that amount to billions of dollars. Apparently, folks, the UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres sent a letter to ambassadors of all 196 member states. Get this right. So it's 196 countries in this thing. And because the United States is not paying their dues, it might shut down. What does that tell you? 196 other countries in this thing, and because the United States is not paying dues, they might have to shut the whole thing down. Does that make sense to you? That's like saying we have 196 clients in our successful business here that we keep going. We have 196 clients. One of them is not paying the bill, so we got to shut the whole thing down. Doesn't that kind of tell you that the money's not evenly spread around? That there were some countries that are getting freebies on this UN deal? I don't know. I'm not an expert at it, but I sound suspicious. Anyway, he got in touch with all the ambassadors. We're going to have to shut this baby down. On December 30th, the General Assembly authored $3.5 billion for their 2026 budget. The United States is responsible for 95% of the money owed to the United Nations, about $2.2 billion. They want $3 billion. The United States is paying $2.2 billion, apparently. What's wrong with this picture? We're subsidizing everything else that's going on over there, and what do we get for it? We get a bunch of hate from some of these other countries. We get the UN interfering in American law, which they've done, especially immigration law. They were responsible for helping to send in this invasion, and they helped fund it with the money that we're giving them. Since we comprise most of this budget. And now, in July, Mexico, for instance, owes $20 million. They want us to fork over billions and billions and billions of dollars. Mexico had $20 million. Well, why don't we just give them $20 million too? Say, hey, we'll send you $20 million. Figure out the rest yourself. Anyway, I don't know. What do you think, folks? Should we pay these dues or should we? I love what Donald Trump is doing here. I think, if I'm reading the tea leaves in this right, we got to take a break.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Okay, let's get to some of the sound bites here. Look, this Don Lemon thing bores me. I saw a clip of some other host. He calls himself a god. And he was talking about how nothing's normal here. And we're in blah, blah, blah because old Don Lemon was arrested. I mean, the ignorance on some of these people is just astounding to me. The issue over Lemon, and this is what I guess certain people in the left wing, whether it's Chuck Schumer or don't understand, is that people have a right to worship. If a bunch of people went into a synagogue and did the same thing, and Chuck Schumer sitting there, Chuck Schumer wouldn't want them all arrested, including some guy that knows in advance that they're going to break the law and decides, well, I'm going in there with it. Because the First Amendment also covers religious freedoms and religious liberties, and in fact was why this nation was founded. And Don Lemon, the question is, and it's a decent legal question to raise, was he conspiring with them? He had advanced knowledge of it. He was in the plans. He didn't reveal everything. Now, was he careful enough to walk that fine line where he can't really be said to be a conspirator in this? I don't know. That's for a jury to decide. But the fact is he should have been charged, and he was charged. Good. And now he's right. He'll have his day in court. And so will the people who, by the way, had their service, their worship service interfered with. I understand that some of them are planning on suing some of these insurgent agitators. And I hope that perhaps everybody that went in that church that they have a record of is listed in those lawsuits. Meanwhile, you get some of the silliest things being said. We have this guy, Elie Mystal, he was on PMS NBC back when they called themselves that, now PMS Now. I don't think he made these remarks there, but we have him. What is going on with taxes? The Democrats are cutting loose, not just Virginia. We've been talking about that. Virginia, New York, California. And anything else that you want to talk about. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us here. It is the Saturday morning extravaganza. Have that first, second, even third cup of coffee with us, or if you prefer tea. It's tea time all the time. So whatever you do, keep it right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It is an expression of white supremacy. And so when I look for constitutional justification for these arrests, it's obviously not in the Constitution. It's obviously not in the Constitution anymore. Because there was something in the original Constitution that would have allowed them to arrest a black journalist like Don Lemon. And that was called the Fugitive Slave Clause in Article 4 of the original Constitution, which allowed the government to reclaim escaped property should that property have successfully made it to a free state.
Yeah, that's Elie Mystal. There's no reason for the government to arrest Don Lemon. The only thing, it used to be in the Constitution, he's a fugitive slave. They could have arrested you as property back. It's insane. And I don't know what's so hard to understand about it. Even journalists not having the right to go in and interfere with people's worship services. I don't get that. They don't have the right to do it. It's astounding. Anniversary also tomorrow. Blondie released this one. Call Me. It was in the film, the 1980 film American Gigolo. And it went up to number one and stayed number one for 6 weeks. The top selling single of 1980 was this from Blondie. We have some more Blondie, I think, later on, too. Fugitive slave. I tell you what, let's get a contrast to that. Just in case you don't know. Maybe this guy, the God, and some of these other black broadcasters, he's a fugitive slave. That's the only reason they would have had, but that's not in the Constitution now. There are some black people with sense. I'm one of them, and there are so many others. Let's go and hear from a black pastor. That we haven't heard from a black pastor on Don Lemon. Here, I got one. I found one. Here he is Cut 14 there, Matt. Let her rip.
Don't come here. You roll up in this church doing stuff like that, and it's going to be the Royal Rumble. And the funny thing is, I'm not joking. We have worked hard. We built the church in the name of the Lord. We dedicated it to the Lord. It's built for worship. Our blood, sweat, tears, and finances are in this place. And some people who have never darkened the door of a church and never contributed one dime to it, gonna roll up in here and disturb our service and scare our children and shout obscenities in the church. That will not stand in this church. Freedom of speech doesn't extend to going into someone else's house of worship. And you know what? Them people know that. That's why you never see them going into a mosque, because they know the Muslims ain't having that. I'm not a Muslim, but we ain't having that. And the Bible teaches that we serve a God who teaches our hands to war and our fingers to fight. That's Bible. And these are the times in which we live. No respect for the house of God. All we want our sisters to do is just get out the way. He gets ready to throw a punch, don't grab his arm. Let the Lord have his way, and they'll know not to ever do that again. Say amen.
Amen. And hallelujah on top of it. Let's head to the telephones very quickly and start out with Greg in New Jersey. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Bo. Thanks for taking my call. I actually want to talk about two things. I don't know if that's possible, but first is Don Lemon. I mean, this guy, he made a statement that he got arrested for doing something he's been doing all his life, or for the last 20 years, or his job, or whatever. The guy's, in my opinion, the guy's an idiot. He's an attention whore. He craves attention. I guess along with that comes money. I don't know what it takes to be a journalist, but that's not journalism. What he did wasn't journalism. It's something else. Maybe. Don't you need a?
Well, let me just put it to you like this: you raise an interesting point, and I can't say for sure what's in Don Lemon's heart. I can't say what's in his mind. I don't know the man. Right. But I do know the way that it works. Don Lemon's earnings right now are tied into how many people watch him on this YouTube channel that he set up and however else he monetizes his social media or his own platform. He's no longer an employee. So the more viewers he gets on his platform, the more money he earns. I don't know whether he's subscription-based. He could be subscription-based, and that would account for some revenue too. But in other words, he has to drive traffic to himself if his earning. Now, I don't know, and I don't know the guy. Maybe I would think after being the front man over at CNN for so many years that he would be kind of well off. But you never know anybody else's finances. The more you make, the more you spend. And that is for sure. The more you make, the more you spend. And it's endless. It's a cycle. So I don't know whether the guy could retire if he wanted to or not, whether he loves his work. And that's why, again, I don't know him. But I do know that if he needs the income, he has to drive traffic to his website. And that could, and I'm not saying it does, but that could explain why he does some of the things that he does to bring attention to himself.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Almost like the Jackass crew. Remember those guys?
Oh, I remember them. Oh, yeah.
He can belong.
What was the other thing you wanted to mention very quickly?
Well, the UN issue. We need to keep the UN in the West. I mean, God forbid if this thing does close and it ends up in Iran or Saudi Arabia or Kuwait.
Why? What difference would it make?
Because it would give them in that area a sphere of power or a moral high ground.
What power does the UN have?
Well, it has the power of being. The implied power is that it's in the West. It's part of the West. It's our United Nations. Everybody's invited. And it sort of functions along with our core values. Our core values.
Well, no, it doesn't. It may used to, but no, it doesn't. And by the way, the UN got its birth excuse me, a little Ebonic, got his birth from the failed League of Nations, which was Woodrow Wilson, one of the most racist, liberal progressives that ever occupied the White House. So the whole thing was tainted to begin with.
Yeah.
Tainted love, one might say. But anyway, I appreciate it. Look, I got to grab another quick call here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Greg, appreciate it. Adam, my man, how are you this morning?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Adam.
I think I want to hire you as a DJ, man. I'm dead serious for my parties, man, because you are the bomb with the music. I'll tell you that much. You know?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that I don't agree with all these protests. You know, that's a losing cause to me. It's a losing cause for Democrats, which I am. You know, like, dude, Trump won. You know, like, why would you give a criminal, okay, because I've been convicted of a crime before, but why would you let him get the spoils of his riches? And that's what those illegal immigrants are doing. They come over here, they committed a crime to get over here. Now they're having children, and they're becoming doctors and lawyers and all this stuff. So they're being rewarded. But the average Joe Smo like me, you know, we don't get to keep no proceeds from nothing. So I don't understand the logic of the Democrats going crazy about this, man. Like, why? What's the big deal? You know, help me explain that, sir.
I will explain to you the big deal. And Adam, first of all, thank you. Thank you. I love the fact you're so honest about your life, yourself, and you put it in context that everybody can really understand and pay attention to. Now, let me explain to you really the big deal. And this is the big deal, Adam. It's not about the illegal immigrants. It's about the Democrats. It's not about anybody. It's about their own power. In Los Angeles this week, there was a story in the LA Times. The rents in LA are going down. First time, the biggest decrease in rents for people paying rent in 4 years. The LA Times did a whole massive article, barely mentioned it inside their article. One of the reasons is that people have left, vacated. Why? ICE. And so you have all these apartments sitting empty. Now the real estate market is adjusting. And they only list this as part of the reason. They are flummoxed as to what the real drivers are. But that's the real driver, no matter what they say. It's ICE. Right? And the immigration deportations. So the number of people goes down. It's affordability. Okay, now people can better afford. There, in some cases, people's rent bills are coming due, and they're being asked to pay less than they did last year to just keep them in the apartments. Now, that same day that story came out, Adam, another story came out. We are now entering negative population growth. I'm going to tie all this together. What does that mean? We have a slower population growth in America. Number one, the border's closed. We didn't let 11, like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, population was growing. Why? They let in 11 million unvetted illegal aliens. At the end of the article, one of them, it mentioned that if the trends continue with this, with the slow population growth, Democrat states will lose up to a half a dozen congressional seats. Aha! There you go. Now, here's what has happened. And this is why these people are in the streets fighting and committing almost a war. The number of House seats is determined on population. When you flood blue cities and blue states, they say, we're sanctuaries. Please send us all these illegal immigrants. They can stay here. They have homes here. We don't care whether they're citizens or not. They have more rights than American citizens because we can't go out. We're not going to go after them and hold them accountable in certain things. What happens? Democrats get more House seats in these sanctuary cities because they have a bigger population. What Trump and this administration doing is so far 3 million have left. 3 million. And You put together the slowing population, they could lose 6 House seats with that after the 2030 census. Now you put in the fact that they're losing even more population from illegal immigrants that are here already leaving. They might lose anywhere from half a dozen to a dozen, maybe even 20 seats in the House. What happens if Democrats lose 20 seats in the House? They have no power as a party. They are in the wilderness. Their access to federal money dries up. Their access to import everything dries up because it's been built on illegality. That's why this is their number one issue. This affects their lives. How can you come in as a poor nobody and end up with $30 million in 2 years if you don't have a House seat? How can you have all these billions of dollars spread out for you to spend with your friends and your cronies and fund all this stuff if you don't have a House seat? Democrats, their entire party power is wrapped up in keeping illegal immigrants in this country. That's the explanation, Adam.
Well, I got to say something about that. You're saying that like the illegal immigrants can vote. That's what you're telling me today?
I'm telling you that they are counted in. So in our republic, right, the way that the founders set this up, congressional districts are determined by population. It's a representative republic. The more population you have, the more House seats you get. So even though they can't go in, we supposedly can't go in and pull the lever themselves, the mere presence of illegal immigrants in large numbers, they have 1 million, they have 3 million estimated in Los Angeles. That's why California has such a big congressional delegation. Just in Los Angeles, there are 3 million illegal immigrants. They have more congressional seats because of it. What happens if the illegal immigrants go home or go somewhere else? They lose those congressional seats. Now look at New York. Look at Chicago. Look at every place that the Democrats run. Look at Atlanta. Look at Philadelphia. Every place Democrats run and have a lot of seats, they have those seats because of illegal immigrants. The number of seats. You had a Brooklyn congresswoman, we played her, begging to send more illegal immigrants to Brooklyn so that her numbers could bump up and make sure she has a safe seat. That is why this is such a threat to Democrats. If they lose the illegal immigrants out of this country, they lose political power.
I get it. If you're talking about the census and stuff, I get it now.
That's right. And follow the money. The money follows the census. What do you have when you have more population? You have more funding. Have more welfare bennies. And look what they've done, such a great job of it in Minnesota with the welfare. This is all tied into money and power.
I get it.
Love your call, Adam.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Always great to hear from you. James Golden, Snerdley.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Decided to come right back without the music because I want to grab a call real quickly. People are holding. Thank you for waiting. Ronnie calling from California. How are you?
I'm fine, Bo. And you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. Hey, listen, I'm listening to the immigration and how Obama was the king deporter. And a lot of times I just don't hear anyone making the point that Obama held pretty much everyone coming across that border at the border. And when he returned them, that was regarded as a deportation. So we never saw the high incidence of the riots in the street with ICE or whatnot because they were there at the border. And they were.
Well, Obama was called on it. The Democrats were unhappy with that. And Obama explained to them, look, I have to follow federal law, period. And he also talked about the Dreamers and the way he called out for them. We played that earlier in the week. And did you know that 50, but some were detained? Do you know that among the detainees during the Obama term, there were 50, quote unquote, deaths? And they never complained about that the way that. Excuse me?
The high incidence of the shootings and whatnot. That was not, the attention is not brought like it is with.
Of course not. Of course not. So because now, of course, they think that they have a political weapon. Now, let me just say this about ICE, and I'm glad you called because I need to make this point.
Right.
I support ICE, and I support the mission of ICE. That doesn't mean that any of us that support it want to see ICE and ICE agents misuse their power, and if there are incidents where they do, they need to be held to account. I think we all agree with that. It would be exceedingly rare. There's an AP story today about an immigrant that got his skull bashed in, and I've been hearing stuff circulate on social media about this case. And the doctors in the case are saying, and the whole thing sounds strange. AP reported ICE claims that an immigrant shattered his own skull running into a wall. And doctors are like, come on, this didn't happen, supposedly. But there are so many lies from so many quarters these days. It is hard to know what to believe in certain incidents. But I know, and I say this with a degree of certainty, Ronnie, that you wouldn't want to see ICE agents abuse their power on anybody. But we don't want our ICE agents abused either.
Exactly. It's a hard job, and I just wish people who had a modicum of sense would say, listen, I'm not out there fighting. The least I can do is comply to help them out. I mean, I'm not on the front line. Let's give these guys a break here and just be compliant.
Exactly.
You know, I wouldn't be a parent here, have my kids in school, and take that risk of me getting deported and they're behind. No. I take myself and my family back.
We got to go, Ronnie. I love it. Thank you for the call. Hour number uno, my friends, in the can. Hour number duo coming up. In hour number duo, we will hear from Lizzie. We will also have more of your telephone calls at 800-848-9222. And coming up later, Princess Diana. Coming up later, America's Small Caffeinated Mom. Coming up later, you and on the phone. So whatever you do, keep it right here and don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
As we begin, our number duo is the voice of her generation. Red Apple Audio Network star reporterette. Our very own Lizzie Rattobali. Good morning, Lizzie.
Good morning, Bo. Good morning, Bo. I'm jealous of you in Florida right now. I wish I had some of those warm temperatures.
Yeah, well, life is good, Lizzie. It's cold down here, too.
Yeah.
It actually went to 60 degrees one day. It's like, man, it was freezing.
Gosh. Do you think meteorologists make small talk about the weather, or do they get, like, too into it? It's something I've been thinking about, because I've been talking to everyone about the weather, and I'm like, I wonder what do meteorologists just like make small talk about, highs are this today.
I don't know. Lizzie, I talked, you sent me some stories. I talked during the week about the and it was cast as a brazen attempt to break Luigi Mangione out of jail. The guy shows up. He's from Minnesota.
Of all places, man.
From Minnesota. He shows up in New York, goes to the detention center, says, I've got a judge order here to release Luigi Mangione. I'm from the FBI.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, really? Let's see your credentials." And he throws a stack of paper at them. That is just so bizarre.
Including his Minnesota driver's license. And then he says, I'm armed. Okay.
With what? A pizza cutter.
He has a pizza cutter and a barbecue fork in his bag.
That is really confusing to me. The barbecue fork, I mean, it's very sinister looking, like for a fork. I mean, it's like the two sharp prongs, but I have no idea. Even if he worked at a pizza shop. That's what all the reporting is saying. That makes sense for the pizza cutter. The fork, the barbecue fork, is really just grinding, It
was supposed to intimidate them.
Okay.
I have a barbecue fork. I'm going to poke you with it. Minnesota. Lizzie, this one interests me the heck out of me. You say film students, or you don't say, but the Hollywood Reporter reports that film students are now having trouble sitting through movies, according to their professors.
Yeah, no, this is a problem that a lot of film nerds are really, banging their heads against the wall, because a lot of the complaint from the general public when it comes to movies and film is that, it's just too long. Movies are too long. Films are too long. And, to that point, I'm going to go ahead on the record and say I disagree. Pretty much every movie that someone has complained about being like too long, I've watched it and I've been like, okay, I could have sat through another hour in that world. They could have tacked on another 45 minutes and I would have been fine with it. But long films, that seems to be like the bane of audiences across the country. And not just audiences, but the people who really like the films in the audience, the people who go to pursue that for higher education, film students. They're saying that they're not even finishing the films that they're assigned to watch. Now, if you were a student, the best case scenario for a homework assignment is to watch a movie. I mean, well, best case scenario is no homework, of course, but right after that, the assignment is to watch a movie. Oh my gosh. That is my personal heaven. I'm giving myself homework right now with movie watching, because I think I mentioned before, I'm doing this thing called the Oscars Death Race, which you basically watch every single movie that's nominated for an Oscars, from the shorts, documentaries, the international features, all of that I'm watching. I have an Excel sheet. I have self-imposed deadlines. So when it comes to watching movies, I treat it as, an art form in and of itself. So it really breaks my heart as a movie lover and a movie watcher that people are just not even film students themselves are not sitting down and watching these films. A lot of them
Can I offer you another point of view on that, Lizzie?
Yeah.
And it's something that I've noticed about myself lately. I skip through dialogue now. and I never used to do this earlier. You watch what's in front of you and you do it. After now being conditioned, I think, with all of the shorts that are out here, whether it's the film reels, it's like there's a get to the point mentality that I think is developing. Yeah. What's the point? And so once you get the point of a certain piece of dialogue, you're ready to move on to the next point, because there are so many media choices, there's so much going on, and your time is still finite.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's like, get to the point.
Yeah, well, my problem is that I find that people who like complain about like movie lengths, like in my personal life, in my personal circle, they're all also like binge watchers, like extreme binge watchers. They'll sit down and watch 10 hours of a TV show in one sitting, but they can't sit for 2.5 hours to watch a movie, like one of the greatest movies of all time. they won't sit down and watch because, it's too long. Like, you just watched 10 episodes of an hour-long show in succession. I'm not buying this, the short attention span. I think that there is something to that when it comes to, actually finding the time to sit down. A lot of people, would rather just sit at home and scroll on their phone. But if you're in the theaters already, why are you getting distracted? Why are you whipping out your phone in the theaters? That just, oh my gosh, I see
Things
red.
are changing, Lizzie. I'm telling you, things are changing. And it is attention spans on media products are changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's heartbreaking as someone who's, trying to navigate this media space as a professional.
Or not. Yeah. To me, it presents new opportunities.
Yeah, no, that's true too. That's true as well. I mean, it's just, new opportunities. There's still a struggle in, breaking through and finding your own path. I mean, carving your own path is not an easy feat, in any, professional or, career path.
Now, in South Korea, there are upper age limits for clubs. What the hell is that about? And now you're saying Japan is following suit. What does that mean, upper age limits?
Yeah, so I don't want to make sweeping generalizations here, but my understanding when it comes to, East Asian countries is that there was a special revere for the elderly. It was a whole respect your elders. I thought that was the custom over there. And it seems that it's actually not the club custom. When it comes to the clubs and the pubs, if you're under the age of 40, you got to find somewhere else to go. Now, a lot of people are saying this is discrimination, but notably, this is happening now in Japan as well. A popular pub in Tokyo has banned customers that are over the age of 40, and it's actually part of a chain. You can still go if you're over the age of 40. You just have to have someone in your party that is 39 years or younger. And of course, pub owners and friends, business family members, those people are all exempt from this new rule, but it's not technically, legally enforceable. So if you are over 40 years old and find yourself in Tokyo and you want to go to this bar and it says, you got to be under the age of 40, you can still go into the bar. There is notably also in Japan no age discrimination laws. Here in the States, we do have part of federal protections are for age. It was part of an employment act that was passed back in the 60s. So age has been a protected category in the States since the 1960s. Doesn't seem that they've caught up in the Eastern Asian countries of South Korea and Japan. But it also really speaks to this idea of hostile architecture. That's this idea when you make something hostile towards a targeted population. A lot of people reference that when it comes to homelessness in cityscapes, but it's also true when it comes to younger spaces being very hostile towards their potential older customer base. When I think of stores like Hollister or Abercrombie, where my number one memory growing up was my grandma always complaining about how she had to go Christmas shopping in one of those stores for me. And she couldn't stand how dark it was. She couldn't see anything. The music was so loud. It smells so bad in there. The perfume was so strong. That's something I heard every single Christmas time when I just wanted a pair of sweatpants. So older customers, we'll see if there's going to be any legal action on behalf.
Why? Nobody can. Do you think that really older people want to actually hang around these kids?
Well, yeah,
they don't.
That's the argument from the bar is they're saying, we've heard a lot of complaints.
They don't want to hang around these little kids.
Yeah, I don't think, though, it's good for overall social cohesion. I do think that...
I think it's great. Because now the older people can have their clubs and just say, we don't want any of these noisy, spoiled brat kids ruining our fun with all their loud noise and their stinky perfumes and their whatever. And it's too dark. It's too dark in there. And we want some light so we can actually read the menus and whatever. We don't need these kids in here trying to snuggle up to each other, not have any manners.
Leave some space
for
Jesus.
Get off my grass. Lizzie, Really quickly, Lizzie, I got to ask you a question. We can pick this up because time is short. Yes. I sent you some stories about Pinterest getting ready to lose people because of AI. Tesla is getting ready to stop making production of some of the vehicles and instead humanoid robots. This, Lizzie, interests me. You've talked about the robotics and everything else, and so maybe not today, but I hear everything that you say about the dangers of robotics, but I also think that we're getting ready to see things change in the world, and there may be a lot of benefits from these robotics. Let me give you a real quick example. You have now robotic surgery that is even more precision-oriented in certain procedures than humans doing it. You have the idea that with robots, if there truly are, as robotics develop, I'm wondering what the benefits to society are going to be. And I think that there might be a lot that we're not considering. You have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, so with the Optimus robot in particular, that's Elon's model, I do think that we are, decades, if not generations, away from mass consumption of these robots. He says that they're ready for mass production, but as far as, seeing these robots in households, I don't think that we're going to see that for at least like 2 or 3 generations to come. Yeah, so
I got news for you. If you look at the growth of technology and the way that it grows, everything is happening sooner than you could expect. It is growing exponentially. You say 2 or 3 generations, I'll say to you 2 or 3 years.
Well, let's see. Set your calendars.
Yeah, or a decade, or within a decade.
Yeah, no, that I could.
It's always the affordability issue. Who can afford them? The more they're adopted, the lower the price is going to be. The lower the price it starts to become, the more people will adopt them. I think this is going to happen a lot sooner than we might be anticipating.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I would like to see.
And by the way, my
benefits.
nephew TJ just told me these robotics are only $20,000. Now you look at what people are paying for stuff. To me, would I put $20,000 into a robot right now? No. But there are a lot of people who you say $20,000 for a robot. Oh, sure, here, I'll take one.
Yeah, free childcare. Uh-oh.
And she just said, uh-oh.
Not trying to put any ideas into.
Bye-bye, Miss Rachel. We've got a Miss Rachel robot. Judy from the Jetsons. Remember Judy no, what was the robot's name?
Oh,
in the Jetsons. I don't even remember.
I don't know. Did it have a
What
name?
was the robot's name in the Jetsons? Yeah. Because that was Rosie. Rosie the robot.
Yeah, I'd like to see some benefits from these robots. I feel.
I think there are going to be a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the benefits will ultimately outweigh the dangers.
Oof.
But Lizzie, I do think that there are going to be tremendous benefits toward robotics.
Yeah, here's to hoping.
All right. Our very own, thank you, Lizzie. Our very own Lizzie Rattobali. Lizzie, always look forward to hearing from you. You never fail to bring us some exciting news. Thank you so much, Lizzie.
Thank you so much, Bo. Always a pleasure.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we have Joanne calling in from New Jersey. Good morning, Joanne. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. It's so nice to hear from you. I love your show.
Thank you so much. What's on your mind this morning?
I have a quick question. I'm having a problem with my grandson. He's a waiter, a server, and he's arguing with me that President Trump didn't do no tax on tips. I think I disagree with him. That's why I thought I'd ask you what you think about it.
Okay, here's the deal. President Trump did do, as part of the big, beautiful bill, yes, signed into law, no tax on tips. However, certain Democrats, now I don't know about New Jersey for sure, I'll have to look into it, but Kathy Hochul and other out of spite said, we don't care. The state is going to put tax on tips anyway. So Democrats are trying to thwart President Trump's legislation that there would be no tax on tips by imposing statewide taxes, which the federal government can't stop them from doing. But but that's the answer to the question, at least as far as New York is concerned. Democrats are so hateful about President Trump that they don't want that to succeed. So they're putting taxes on waiters, waitresses, and other people who work for tips anyway. Does that clarify things?
Yes, but my grandson isn't listening, darn it. I wish he had heard you.
Well, you can play it. This program is on podcast after it's done, and so you can point to the website and play it. We'll get more information, but I can repeat it again. Get him on the phone. I'll repeat it again to him. I'll explain it to him. No problem. Thank you, Democrats. And since you bring up taxes and Democrats, when we get back, I'm going to spend just a few moments, folks. We'll take more calls, but I'm going to go through some taxes that Democrats are proposing. Keep it right here, my friends. Your Saturday morning radio extravaganza, the Saturday morning vibe. Have that next cup of coffee. But whatever you do, don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, those of you on the phones, please stay on hold. I mentioned to Joanne, our last caller, that I would talk about taxes briefly. I want to play you something. We have played this yesterday, the day before. We're going to play it again today. If you are unaware, you want Democrats, you get Democrats. You want Democrats, you get Democrats and all that goes with them. Virginia, and this, by the way, the taxes are not the only thing that's happening in Virginia. This woman is going complete nutso, wacko liberal, just like everyone said she would, this Spangenberger woman, and the Democrats in Virginia have been unleashed. Cut 19 tells you all you need to know. This, you want to elect Democrats, folks, despite everybody saying this is what happens when you elect Democrats, this is what you get. This is from an ABC, local ABC 7, hardly a conservative outlet in Arlington, Virginia, but this is their reporting in Virginia.
Here's a list of the many tax increases and proposals Democrats in Virginia are considering passing. They include additional local sales tax in all Virginia counties and cities, new personal property tax on electric leaf blowers and electric landscaping equipment, large employer tax, gun and ammunition tax, new income tax brackets, a delivery tax. This would hit you if you make an order on Amazon, Uber Eats, or an order that includes UPS, FedEx delivery, etc. here in Northern Virginia. There's also a tax they're looking at for events, concerts, an investment income tax, storage facility tax, gym membership tax, dog walking tax, dog grooming tax, counseling tax, digital personal property tax, new car taxes and highway use fees, an increase in the hotel tax here in Arlington. Statewide speed cameras. Now, these aren't taxes, but they would include more fines for some drivers, dry cleaning tax, home repair tax, and a vehicle repair.
Folks, I know you can't keep up, and some of these are huge. Like, he just goes right past them, like new sales tax. That hits everybody. New income tax brackets. They're going to tax even those achievers higher. Tax on your dry cleaning. Tax on your orders. Tax on your concerts. Tax on your dogs. Tax on your lawn equipment. Tax on damn near everything that they can think of taxing, they are taxing. Now, here's the kicker. Virginia has over $1 billion budget surplus left to them by the Republican governor. So they have $1 billion, more than $1 billion in surplus. Their budget is not in trouble. They collected more money in taxes than they spent. And what's the first thing that these Democrats do when they get back in office? They roll out a laundry list of taxes to soak everybody. It's astounding. You wanted this? This is what you get. Okay, let's turn to New York. Mom Dami goes on and says, we're in the worst situation since the Great Recession. Worst situation. We've $10 billion in debt. We're going to have to raise taxes. We're going to have to raise taxes. We're going to have to raise your taxes. And we're going to make some little cuts here and there. We're going to make some cuts here and there. We have to raise taxes. Only problem is all this tax raising stuff isn't going over so well. And this is New York Council Speaker Menon, and this is what she had to say about her new mayor, Mamdani. And by the way, she's a progressive Democrat too. But even she knows, so this is what does she have.
We have to focus on what we have control over. Right now, in the conversations I've had with the governor, she was very, very clear that she is not willing to do anything on taxes. So given that that is the position, we in the city council have to figure out, well, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here is we've got to identify savings in the budget. I've outlined a number of ways we can find savings. I assure you we're going to find additional savings.
I wonder if they're going to cut any of the billions of dollars, millions that they spend on defending illegal immigrants and services to illegal immigrants. Yeah, no, they'd rather tax you, the American citizens, and you, New Yorkers, but it's not going over so well. Hochul knows. I mean, she's still out doing all kind of blather. Her anti-ICE blather is just sickening. But she understands one thing that apparently they don't understand in California. If you keep threatening the so-called uber rich, who are already paying most of the taxes, they leave. Do you know, just California has proposed a new wealth tax. They call it a one-time tax. We've talked about it on this program before. Already, the way that they want to soak the ultra wealthy, the billionaire class, that's already paying the majority of taxes. Over $2 trillion has left California. $2 trillion worth of billionaires said, you know what? Out of here. Not going to sit around and watch our money taken like this. $2 trillion they've lost before this thing even goes through the vote process to get on the ballot. Because what they said is, if you live in the state in 2026 and this thing passes, we're taking your money. So at the end of last year, billionaires got out and took $2 trillion worth of wealth with them out of California. Now, that doesn't stop California. California, already one of the most heavily taxed states in the nation under Gavin Newsom and the supermajority Democrats. Cut 5. This is Representative David Tangjipa, and he's describing what California Democrats have on the table next when it comes to taxes.
The supermajority in Sacramento just approved plans to implement a mileage tax. Right now in the state of California, we pay the highest gas taxes in the nation. And now if you use those roads, you will be taxed per mile. In my own case, I drove a lot of miles and I commute a lot, even to get up here to Sacramento. And if a mileage tax was implemented last year, I would have paid more in a mileage tax than my property taxes. This is a direct assault on the everyday Californians that are just trying to make it here. And now they're going after everybody. If you can't afford a electric vehicle, you will be double taxed. You will have to pay the gas tax and a mileage tax every year. This is the insanity coming out of Sacramento. This is why we need people to reject this take ideology that is coming out of the legislature here in Sacramento. Get involved. There is an election coming up this year, and we need you. We need you to support. If you don't want this mileage tax, get out, get involved, join us, and let's fight back.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. There were so many complaints about this thing. Now, This mileage tax hits everybody. It is going to cripple people that are on the lower socioeconomic ladder. It is going to hurt them. If you have two working parents, let's say, in a house, and they're barely making ends meet now, and they have to travel on the roads, they're going to get slammed with this mileage tax. And in some cases, one estimate I heard from one of the other congressmen there as it was being debated, I watched some of the debate, is that this would add about $4,000 in taxes a year, depending on, of course, on your commute. But what they expect is, on a two-parent household, both parents working, both parents have cars, it would add about $4,000 a year in new taxes. Just on the mileage tax. You want Democrats, this is what you get. Okay? You want Democrats, this is what you get. The other thing that you get are Democrats enriching themselves. I'm going to do one other segment in this cut. This is cut 31, Matt. Folks, this Ilhan Omar thing. Adam called earlier, why are Democrats going this nuts over immigration? Two things, wealth, their own power, and their wealth. Their own power, they're going to lose seats if the deportations continue at the rate and population growth slows. They are going to lose so many seats in the House of Representatives. It is doubtful that they would be able to muster the same kind of political power, at least in the House, that they have to even keep it competitive. And what does that tell you, by the way? It tells you that Democrats have been suppressing the votes of normal, everyday American citizens for decades with their sanctuary city policies. They get more seats, you get less. You're a citizen. Their seats are based on the number of seats, this influx of now what the estimates are 39 million illegal immigrants. So you as an American citizen have less power in your vote. The Democrats have more because they've been stacking the deck with illegal immigrants. Now, some people, as we know, go to Congress and get filthy rich. Steve Forbes was on Fox Business and was interviewed about it. And listen to this, please.
Okay, that was far-left Congresswoman Ilhan Omar claiming the Justice Department and Congress probing her sudden skyrocketing wealth to $30 million in just 1 year, that they have a problem with her living the American dream. You heard her say the goddamn United States of America. We've got new questions on where she and her husband got all that money. Joining us now, Forbes Media Chair, Editor-in-Chief Steve Forbes. Steve, new information coming in, and Forbes magazine, your magazine, has reported this too, that the state of Delaware and Washington, D.C. canceled the registrations for Omar's husband's investment firm, Rose Lake, for not paying its back taxes. We saw it owed more than $400,000 to Delaware and nearly $1,800 to D.C. She's claiming it's worth $25 million from less than $1,000 a year before. How can his investment firm not afford to pay taxes? It's supposedly worth an estimated $75 million to $150 million. This is really weird stuff.
Well, weird is not the word for it. There's another word for it called crooked. And that's why we have to have an investigation into this. As you know, the Biden administration started examining her finances and that of her husband. And so surprise, surprise, that investigation went nowhere. But it's amazing how people can go into Congress and then become these entrepreneurial investing geniuses where they come in. She had under $1,000 of net worth, and her husband didn't have much, and suddenly now they're multimillionaires. Is there a money laundering operation here? And in terms of the firms themselves, they have a sketchy background. That winery in California that she and her husband own, where did that come from? Where's the wine there? And nobody can seem to find it. So there's a lot of smelly stuff here, and that's why in the American Dream, her version of the American Dream is the Al Capone version of the American Dream, Tony Soprano version of the American Dream, and that is steal it from the taxpayers. And so there's a lot of stuff here, and so when somebody cloaks themselves in the American Dream, and so you have numbers like this, from minus 1,000 to 30, 40 million, you know something is not right.
Yeah, and she's also like... blaming people, bullying, doing race baiting, race bullying. There's no evidence, public evidence, there's even a winery. She valued it at $5 million. His investment firm is real. It's supposedly real. Its D.C. headquarters appear to share office space at a WeWork, Steve. There's no track record of his firm managing money, doing M&A deals. No clients we see, investment deals, or any work it's done. They say they do work in 80 nations operating in. There's no SEC registrations for them as investment advisors. What is going on here? This increasingly looks sketchy, both the winery and his investment firm.
Yeah, the winery may not exist, and the firm may be just a name only, as you say, a WeWork office. Big deal. So that's why the investigation needs to be done. And suddenly all that $30 million, I think you're going to find, I'll make a speculation and prediction, that $30 million came from sources that are illegal, period.
Thank you so much, Steve Forbes, helping us to break it down. We're going to stay on this story.
Folks, this is just astounding. Wineries that perhaps don't exist. Investment firms that owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes belonging to the husband. And she's out complaining about America. They can't do this investigation soon enough.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Let's see what we have left. People are holding on the phones. We want to get to a few of them as we can. Silas has been holding in Staten Island. Silas, what's up with you?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you educated Adam on that, what they were doing. And I appreciate your show because you bring facts. They use this, they're not only a distraction so that you don't go after the money that they're about. And believe me, in New York, you're going to see how much money that's been misappropriated. And I also want to tell every black man, woman, and child, stay away from these demonstrations. They are dying to see a black man get killed so that they can start rioting again. You know how Minnesota...
Oh, come on. I don't... Look. If you're telling me that they want to exploit people that are agitating, yes. If you want to tell me... And by the way, I have my doubts on this second shooting. I've said it. The first one I have no doubts about. The second one I have doubts. But it's not just black people. Look, these people want to start a war. And they are in the process of it. Silas, I'm going to leave it short there because we have about a minute. I want to just see. Joseph, I got to get you to make your point real quick because time is running out. You wanted to talk about the food pyramids. You've been holding almost an hour. What is the point you want to make?
Robert Kennedy Jr. new food pyramid recommendations. On top is music group Meatloaf. On the bottom is music group Bread. But the Democrats, they have Somalian salami swindlers with criminal communist condiments.
Okay, now, the Somali reference, I'm going to say, don't like that. I think it's terrible to demonize an entire group of people. I really do. I think that we need to demonize individuals. And the fraudsters that have come here from Somalia need to not only get shipped back, never again. Follow the money on Ilhan Omar. Follow all of it. Follow the money on every case of immigrant fraud, not just from Somalia. Follow on American fraud, every dime. Every single dime in fraud needs to be investigated, audited, perpetrators held to account. But demonizing one group of people, not cool. Not cool. James Golden, Snerdley. Hour number duo in the can. Hour number trio coming up. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
Our number trio means if she's not busy checking her large and prestigious provinces all around the world that we have Her Highness with us. She is the princess of policy. She is the princess of goodness, of intellectualness. She's the princess of analysis-ness. She's the princess of all the ness. And she's Her Highness-ness. Our very own Princess Diana is in the house-ness. Good morning, Princess.
That is always hilarious. Thank you, Sir James Ness. It's wonderful to speak to you as always.
Yes, indeed. I have been looking forward to this because there are some things that I don't understand. Have been too busy to dig into them. Busy following all the riots, the mayhem. Yeah, it's 7,000 people in New York yesterday on the big shutdown, and the New York Times promoted it. All these leftists promote big national shutdown coming. Anytime conservatives do some day of action, something, it never gets mentioned. But liberals say they're going to do something. The left acts like they're their PR agencies. Big national shutdown day schedule, and then they cover it. So they went out and rioted in Los Angeles. I mean, a normal day in Los Angeles, liberals are rioting. Okay, that happens every time they get a jury verdict they don't like. It happens, whatever. Liberals riot in Los Angeles. So what? Then you had 7,000 people show up in Foley Square. And as I mentioned in the first hour, you get more people in New York to show up at Madison Square Garden to see a losing basketball team. But all know a basketball team that never makes it to the championship, and you get more than 7,000 people that show up in the Garden. What? Am I lying? I'm not lying, okay?
You're not
you
lying.
get more people that show up to watch a losing football team. Actually, 2 of them in New York that never make it anywhere anymore.
Hey.
So what? I got a losing football team, too. Dallas hasn't been in the Super Bowl since so long I don't even remember since. And more people show up to... Seriously, more people show up to see losing football teams than show up for these protests. But yet it's supposed to be some big deal because 7,000 liberals showed up in a city of 8 to 9 million people, a megalopolis, if you look at New Jersey and all that, of 13 to 14 million, and they get 7,000 people, and look at the big protest. It's like, give me a freaking break.
Well, this is the midterm riot gin-up. I mean, this is all about 2026 midterms, and the left has held on to now. They think they have their issue, which is anti-ICE, and they are ginning up the hysteria on their, shock troop side. And so, the enthusiasm among a certain demographic, which is basically, as we have discussed, the awfuls, the affluent white liberal women. And so I think that this is what they are trying to enact. And we will probably have many months of this. And the interesting thing is, I do not think it is making a huge dent, in areas of the rest of the country. People aren't paying much attention to them. Oh, as you say, okay, we have left-wing unrest. What else is new? It's a day that ends in Y. So, I do not think it's going to impact the midterms as they're hoping.
Okay, now, let's talk about this whole, because you heard Don Lemon out there, that guy that calls himself the God, was on his broadcasting of how America's changed. It's so horrible. This is fascism, because Don Lemon got arrested for invading a worship service with pre-advanced knowledge that this is what they were going to do, and it was illegal to do it. But he thinks that him plotting to be there with this, no problem, whatever. So it's like the attack on the church doesn't matter, but Don Lemon matters. So what is it with the left and churches and synagogues and houses of worship? As that black pastor that I played earlier mentioned, funny, they don't go to mosque and do this, but they will feel free to go into a Christian church or a synagogue to do all this stuff.
Yes, interestingly enough, which I don't know if you've heard, but on Wednesday there was a similar attack on a synagogue, and it's gotten very little coverage. This was in Long Island. Have you read about this?
Was this the guy that crashed into it?
No.
Well, just tell me about it, because I may not know the story you're talking about.
as I don't think many people are aware of it, Temple Beth Shalom in Roslyn, Long Island, they were having a community meeting in the synagogue, a religious meeting that they had invited a Democrat congressperson. His name is Tom Suozzi, Suozzi. And because Democrat Tom Suozzi had been one of the 7 Democrats who voted with Republicans to continue funding for government, if you recall, there were 7 Democrats who voted with the Republicans.
Right.
And he was one of them. And so the leftist activist group stormed the synagogue. And they shouted. They did all the same things they did in the Minneapolis church. And held up knee pads and yelled and screamed. And, basically they stormed the synagogue and disrupted the religious service. And so this is, something that is very familiar to believers all across the world, is what happens when you have leftists, when you have communists. And communists were known in the Soviet Union for suppressing churches and synagogues and for closing houses of worship, jailing rabbis and ministers and believers. This was just a hallmark because religious faith is competition for communism. There are, worshipers who believe in the Lord God, and so they do not take their orders from the state. And this infuriates communists and has traditionally, and we are seeing that take place in this country today. And this is one of the reasons this needs to be nipped in the bud. It does not matter what the leftists scream and yell about Don Lemon, their new hero. I mean, he basically was part of a conspiracy to suppress the worship of the Lord God. And this is what, if we remember, the Declaration of Independence says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. The purpose of the United States government is to protect our rights. And in the First Amendment, it is laid out, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So this, Don Lemon and his crew of church crashers were the ones who were abridging freedom of speech and the right of the people peaceably to assemble. They were not assembling peaceably, and they were not free exercising freedom of speech. They were attacking people who were assembled there. And so the citation of the First Amendment and our founding documents has been turned on its head. And the people who were aggrieved and who need redress of grievances are the people who were there worshiping. And there was so much more to that event than has been widely reported. It wasn't just people yelling. These were people who stood in the way of parents trying to access their children who were in Sunday school, and who were these people were screaming at the kids that their parents were going to hell. And this is something that took place in a city in Minneapolis, where there were, if you remember, not long ago, targeting of Catholics in Annunciation Catholic Church who were shot. The children had no idea that this was not going to result in violence, and neither did the parents, because when leftists storm churches, and they have been doing it for many, many decades, there is often violence. And so this idea that this was some kind of free speech right to storm a church turns our law and also every bit of morality on its head. And so this is the kind of thing that is going to spread unless the government, the United States government, secures the rights of worshipers. And so you can see that as of Wednesday, this is now spreading, and has been spreading to synagogues who have been attacked, and people are screaming and yelling. And this needs to be nipped in the bud. And it is hugely dangerous. And as I say, the long history of communism fits right in with what we're seeing.
communism and liberal activism, I remember GLAAD storming the Catholic churches in New York City. I remember all of that. And no one
remember ACT UP, where they came in
and ACT UP
and desecrated the host. I mean, these attacks from leftist, quote unquote, protesters has a huge and awful history, and this is the reason why on our side we need to stand up and make sure that the rights of worshipers are secured by the government.
Absolutely. Maybe it was ACT UP, not GLAAD, but I remember the Catholic Church being stormed in exactly the same fashion during Mass. You're absolutely right. Princess Di, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk Trump and the dollars.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yeah, I was reminded during the break that also talking about the churches, Princess Di, then you get the Democrats that closed the churches during COVID but left the liquor stores open. You can go get liquor, but you can't go get God. So, yeah. But
priorities.
Their priorities. Okay, school me on the Trump thing.
Let me ask you a question. What difference would it have made to your life, James, if when you turn 18, you would have $300,000 to $400,000 available to you, either for your education, to buy a home, or to start a business? What difference would that have made to your trajectory of your life?
Are you kidding? I'd be a multi-billionaire by now.
Exactly. This is the game changer of all game changers. Watching the Trump administration, especially Trump 2.0, is just, every minute of every day there is something new and something hugely important for America. And this, of all of the Trump policies, I think has the potential to be his greatest legacy. What this is, and it will officially launch on July 4th as part of America's 250th birthday celebrations, this is something called the Trump accounts. If you go to the program website, trumpaccounts.gov, you can file IRS Form 4547. If you remember, those are the two presidential terms. Trump was Trump 45, the 45th president, and Trump 47, currently the 47th president. You're able to get $1,000 as a seed for an account for a newborn for every American citizen child born between January 1st of 2025, so it's backdated from last year, and this pilot program is already funded until the end of 2028. $1,000 from the Treasury Department will be invested in an index fund, and this will grow tax-free until this child is 18, and then he will be able to take it out as it has been invested, kind of like a 401k, by private investment companies. This is not handled by the government except for the initial donation of $1,000. This is something that is any newborn will be able to do. All the parents can also add to it $5,000 a year, or other philanthropists are starting to add more money to this fund so that they're bigger. I know there have been Michael and Susan Dell pledged to donate $6.25 billion of their money to help fund the accounts for 25 million children under the age of 10. And also another wealthy couple, Ray and Barbara Dalio, are helping fund accounts for more than 300,000 children in Connecticut. So there's going to be a 50-state challenge, a special initiative for wealthy people to contribute. And so this is philanthropy going from the wealthiest to the less advantaged American citizens, and this will build wealth. It not only builds wealth for the individual children to be removed as they want at age 18, it will also be huge hugely educational because all these kids are going to watch what happens to this fund. It will be in their name. And so they will understand how capitalism works and why it is superior to socialism. It's enormously important, and we need to all, as parents and grandparents, start contributing to our children and grandchildren.
I have my mind blown. Compound interest on this will make these kids wealthy. Wealthy. Princess Di, stay there. We're going to grab some calls, you and I. And I had no idea it was this. This is astounding. Folks, this is beyond huge. We've never seen anything like this in America before. This is amazing. James Golden, Snerdley, Princess Di in the house. Whatever you do, keep it there. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, Princess Diana here. We're going to take some calls. Please, folks, get right to the point. We're going to try to squeeze as many calls here as possible. We got a few minutes for calls. Let's make the best of it. Princess Di's in the house with us. Dom in Minnesota. Heart of the action, you're on. Dom, what's on your mind this morning?
Yeah, James, I was just digging into the financing of these protests. You know, I ran into a guy that's Roy Singham. He's based in Shanghai, China, and he is married to the Code Pink co-founder, Jody Evans, who has become a pro-China person after getting married to this guy. He's not only causing problems in the United States, he's spreading his wealth around in India and Sri Lanka. His father is a Sri Lankan. I met a lady who was in Sri Lanka. They hate his father and himself there because of distress he's causing between India and Sri Lanka. This is the guy that's actually supposed to be mainly funding all of these things.
Fox did a big expose on him. Also, Peter Schweiss is looking at Diana. What about Princess Diana, the funding of all of these insurgent attacks?
Well, it is being investigated by the Department of Justice, as you may have heard by the last press conference that the Department of Justice ran. That was the question asked by one of the people of the media who said, is this being looked into? And the spokesperson of the Department of Justice had a one-word answer, yes.
Boom. And Donald Trump said it's going to be looked into, and Tom Homan says we're not going to show our hand. Yes, people are looking into who's funding all this stuff. Absolutely. Gail, thank you, Dom. Pennsylvania is Gail. Gail, welcome. How are you this morning?
Hello, I'm doing great, and good morning to both of you. I love you both. I don't think the Somalians are being demonized. I think they're being spoken of with the fraud only because they're a huge example. We could go into other examples with other groups in California, New York, every state, actually. I live in Pennsylvania, and we have our own special problems here. So, fraud is everywhere, and I think it's fine to give examples, and the Somalians are a huge example, and it's not demonizing them, it's stating fact.
Okay, when I say demonizing, I'm talking about things like Joe, because as I said, I want to see all the fraudsters go. But I also want to make the point, the Somalians are not the only fraudsters here. Look, we have been invaded by scammers and fraudsters from all over the world. And the fraud, by the way, that is being perpetrated on Americans is not just with federal frauds. These scammers are out here from every corner of the world. Southeast Asia, they're out here from Russia, they're from Ukraine, they're from China, they're from South Korea. The fraudsters are everywhere. Fraud is a multi-gazillion-dollar industry now. And so to just focus and say, oh, it's all the Somalis. It's not all the Somalis, number one. But, and believe me, there's no way that we should have ever let 80,000 Somalis here when 70% are on welfare. It doesn't work. But they're not the only ones on welfare.
Yes.
But all I'm saying is
about 80%.
This stuff applies to everybody.
It's everybody, yes, of course. but I do see it as a huge example. I think it's 80% of the Somalis. They did there's statistics of who's on welfare.
Right.
So, I don't demonize them at all. I think they're a huge example, and so it's okay to speak about them. And as you say, it's every.
Yeah, Gail, I'm not trying to say people shouldn't speak about it. I'm just saying don't demonize an entire group of people. Demonize the problem. And if it's part of the culture, we could talk about problematic cultures. We have some here in the United States of America that are very large cultures. But again, you can't demonize the entire race of people or entire nationality based on the actions of individuals in there. And that's my only point.
I think you're right, but that's partly the left's words that you might not even know because they want you to.
I don't care whether it's the right or the left. I'm talking about what's morally right. What is morally right? We are taught, judge ye not, lest ye be judged. But don't worry. Don't let that apply to the Somalians. Don't let it apply to the Ingros. Don't let it apply to the YNs. Don't let it apply to this group, that group. No, don't judge entire people by the actions of people that belong to that group. This is a moral issue. I don't give a damn about the right or the left here. This is about the morality of judging entire groups of people.
For one, never would do that. However, I do not object when an example is pointed out in large scale.
Me either. I never said don't talk about the truth and in the news. I talk about it. But I don't say all of them are like this because that is simply not true.
About 80% of them are on welfare and different.
And fine, and I've said the figure. 70% are on, it's 70-something. And we should never be allowing people in the country that need welfare, period.
I think that's the problem. In fact, I think there would be a huge number of self-deportations if they actually act on what they say they want to do, which is eliminate welfare for illegals, which it's not fair to people who really, in our country, should be getting it.
Agree with you 100%. Let me let Princess Di in here because she has been relatively silent while I've been responding.
Well, I appreciate every word you said, James, but I will disagree with you on one thing. I will condemn an entire group, and that is the liberal policymakers, because the loopholes were created by the left and then exploited and by bringing in people that they could use as their foot soldiers. And so this comes 100% from liberal policies that I do not blame the people for taking advantage of it. But you also have to remember, if you notice that Mehmet Oz was talking about the Armenian
Gavin Newsom's having a cow.
Yes, but he pointed out a community that has been taking advantage of liberal policies, and whenever you make any kind of comment like that, the left can come in and cry racism. You have to be very careful to be specific to blame the left.
Okay, and so thank you. I agree with that too. But do you understand my point, even though you disagree with it? I don't want to get into business of all of them are like that. That's not what I believe.
I appreciate how Princess Diana has just worded it. It is the left, ultimately.
She always does that. Here, James, let me show you why you're stupid. Well, I'm just kidding. That's why I love Princess.
But I just wanted to put the blame where it belongs.
Yes. I appreciate every word you said. Now let me just totally destroy your point and make it sound wonderful. I'm just kidding. It's all right. It's all good. I'm glad for the discussion, Gail. I'm glad for the discussion, Princess Di. That's the time we have. Folks, if you're on hold and I didn't get to you, I have to apologize. But this was an important conversation to have, so we let it go. Princess Di, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here as always. We're going to check in with America's Small Caffeinated Mom when we get back. So if you're on hold, hang up, because I don't want to keep you waiting in vain.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I can't believe it's hour 3 already, and we are approaching near the end because it's time to have our, thank goodness. We love everybody that contributes to this program, and people find such inspiration from America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Shrouck. I hear from people all during the week, Rhonda, that find your words very encouraging. They send me little notes about it. So thank you for being here, and appreciate it. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, you asked me a piercing and a very relevant question at the end of last week's show. James, I've been thinking about it all week. You said, I went back and listened so I could get your words exactly, and this is what you asked me. Do you get the sense that no matter how bad things are, that there is a place that we can go to calm ourselves and make it all right? It brought to mind the tool that I have learned to use daily and sometimes multiple times a day, and it is something called benevolent detachment. That is a technique by which I combat my own stress, my anxiety, my worry. Just when I start feeling overwhelmed with everything that's going on in the world, I reach for the tool of benevolent detachment, and it goes like this. I give everything and everyone to you, God, everything and everyone. It is a way by which I release all of that stuff that I cannot carry. My shoulders are not big enough to carry it. And I put it into the hands of someone who can. And I can quit worrying and trying to manage people and manage outcomes. And at times when I am working through that little practice, I will name names. I give this person to you. I give this situation to you. And in that way, I can find peace. That question was a reminder of how complicated things have gotten in this world. Every day you play the clips, we see it in the media. We have ringside seats to civil unrest, to fiery debates, to sharp divisions in these United States. Ringside seats. I know families that have had relational fractures over political ideology, foundational differences in our core beliefs that just create schisms, and it's just almost impossible to have conversations. In real time, we are watching the fruit or the results of all of this in assassinations, attempted assassinations, and calls for the murder of people who disagree. It is truly overwhelming. Years ago, I was getting one of my little boys ready for bed one night. We were in the bathroom. He was standing at the sink in his little pajamas, and I was brushing his teeth with his brightly colored whale toothbrush. And as I looked at him, I was just struck again by what a gift he was to me. And I said to him out loud, "You are a joy and a delight and a treat. You are such a blessing to other people." That's what just came out of the core of my heart. And through a mouthful of bubbles, he just said this, as though he had heard it 100 times. And I know. He had heard it 100 times, and he knew. He just knew it was a fact. I realized a foundational truth in that moment, and when it descended on me, it was like a warm blanket coming down over me, and I thought, if I, as an imperfect human parent, feel like that about my child, and that's how I see him, that is nothing but a dim reflection of how the Creator of us all looks at us all. We are a joy and a delight and a treat and a blessing to other people. I saw something else. In his reply, there just was no question in his young mind I was telling him the truth, that he was really, truly loved that much, because love was the air that kid breathed. He lived in love. He woke up in love. He went to bed in love. He was surrounded and bathed in unconditional love. And I'll tell you the result of that. He lived the most carefree little life. He was free of care because the environment he was living in was love. Then he grew up. And to this day, that teenager lives a relatively carefree life. He struggles far less than most of his peers. I would say he struggles far less than many adults who are decades older than he is. And his life is not very complicated because of the framework by which he lives. And this is his framework. He loves God, and he loves other people. I know and love his friends from high school. And now that he's in college, different names I've been hearing different names at the house. He's making new friends, and one in particular is a classmate that he has just really, he feels such a love and a fond affection for. And I hear that young man's name often. And he will tell me, Mom, he struggles in class. School is hard for him. He has to work all the time, but there's something about him. And then he says this, you would love him, Mom. So I see the way that he lives an uncomplicated life in a very complicated world, and it teaches us that we can do it too. Living an uncomplicated life does not start by focusing on ourselves. It will never start that way. It does not come by trying to carry everybody at everything. We can't do it, and that's futility. We can learn to live an uncomplicated life using three things. First of all, we receive. We receive that love that we were born into. And it doesn't matter if you believe in God, if you don't believe in God. He was the one who created us all, and his love is just unconditional and overwhelming. You are loved no matter what. We continue down the path to this uncomplicated life that we so desperately need by reflecting. We are the mirrors that reflect that love, first of all, back to the source of all love, and then reflecting it to other people. We do not want to be darkened mirrors who do not have the silvering and are useless. We want to be those polished, shiny mirrors that reflect that beautiful love out into the world. Lastly, we practice the uncomplicated life by releasing. By the tool of benevolent detachment, we release everything and everyone to the one who loves us all and the only one who can bring us together. Receiving, reflecting, and releasing gives us an uncomplicated life. And as we are living uncomplicated lives more and more, we are practicing these things. We become people of strength, clarity, and wisdom, a blessing to others that this world is desperate for, just desperate for. That's what I want to be, and that's what I want others to learn as well.
Wow. Very profound. And Rhonda, where can people find your essay today?
It's in the columnist section on your website, thedailybs.com.
And where can people find you, Rhonda?
Yes. My coffee shop in cyberspace is at rhondaschrock.com, SCHROCK. There's a wealth of encouragement and wisdom and humor over there. Please come.
Yeah, well, you know what? I never do. I did this with Princess Di, and we didn't have time today because today was one of those stick to the issues day. There's a little, I thought about you, and I thought about Princess Di when I heard a quote. I'm looking for it right now from one of these social media types, but I don't know whether I can find it real quick. It is a young woman who's saying that these days parents are unqualified to teach their own children. Because obviously some of you parents are not leftist enough.
Oh, my.
What do you say to people like this, Rhonda? You parents, you are unqualified to teach your own kids.
Well, that opinion doesn't matter to me, because I am teaching and modeling for my children what my values are. And they are now out in the world mirroring those values. So I will let the results and the fruit of our parenting speak for themselves.
And I think that you're doing a great job with that. Thank you. And I appreciate all that you bring, Rhonda. Thank you so much. Always great to hear from you.
It is my joy. It is truly my joy, James. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are winding down here. I just want to say something else before we go. This discussion that we had with Gail, I just really want to be clear. I am aware. I am, and with Princess Di and her lovely insight and intellectually based, of course, rational insight that she gave. I want to be really clear about this. I'm not saying to people, ignore what we see. I'm not saying people don't report on what we see. I'm never going to say people don't talk about what we see. I don't believe in self-canceling. because somebody's feelings, because this, that, and the other. What I do also support more than anything else, though, is let's be of good heart. Let's be of good cheer. When we get into, and I responded to the guy when I said don't demonize, because he was making a joke about the Somalis, like all the Somalis are the punchline. I don't do that. Because you can insert other groups of people in those punchlines, and a long time ago, that stuff became not funny to me. The Polish jokes aren't funny. The N-word jokes aren't funny. None of that stuff is funny to me. That's just who I am. You can choose to disagree, and we got to go.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.